Okay, here we go. We're live? Yeah, we are live. Let's make sure we don't have the dreaded chipmunk audio. Okay, here we go. Do we or do we not have chipmunk audio? I've fallen for using the native Twitch app again. Why did I do that? I know it's crap. Okay. Tap to unmute. There we go. I've fallen for using the native Twitch app again. Yeah, we don't have. No chipmunks. Fantastic. Alright, gang. Well, welcome. Tonight we've got this lovely thing. We've got an Atari Jaguar to play with. This is my Atari Jaguar. This isn't one I bought after the event. This is the Atari Jaguar I bought with my own money when Atari Jaguars were a thing that existed and you could buy them in shops. In my defense, why am I defending buying a slightly crappy games console? Like, I haven't got hundreds of crappy games consoles. I bought the Jaguar toward the end of its life. The Saturn was out, I think, when I bought it, and the PlayStation was looming. But I think it's a really handsome piece of mechanical design. It's it's a chunky old slab. TV, RGB, its own built-in network thing, Kojag and power. The only thing we've got. You've also got the super freaky 15-pin D-shell adapter for the joysticks that you get on Atari Falcons. And aside from that, it's a pretty basic console, really. Power button, no reset button, anything like that. Spurious claim to being a 64-bit console, because it really isn't, is it? Let's face facts. I really like the mechanical design, as I say. You can tell what they were going for here, even though it's entirely cartridge based. After about a year or so of being out, a CD add-on came to fit in this gap, and you can certainly see that, a CD was what they were thinking about when they designed that gap. They were definitely thinking of a CD drive being in there. But yeah, so let's wire it up. Power in there. Also, my RGB SCART cable is this flat ribbon cable, which is ever so slightly strange and unshielded. So I think that's actually that's not the cable it came with. I don't remember it coming with a SCART cable. I'm pretty sure it just came with a RF cable. But hey, the games came in these. Do I say handsome? Don't know. These cartridges. This is Cybermorph. This is the pack-in game. This is the game it came in the box with for free. Obviously, has a great big Atari logo on the back of it. This was in like the height of Atari's pomp. The weird thing about this is there's a direct link between this console and the ZX Spectrum if you're willing to put up with a little bit of weirdness. A company called Flare were going to make like a ZX Spectrum 2 years ago that was ludicrously overspec'd. It would have been an 8-bit compatible with Spectrum home computer, but it would have been around the sort of power of an Amiga. That was the power they were going for. But it fell through. It was called the Loki. And it fell through, and the company that made it, Flare, decided to schlep their idea around for this console to a whole bunch of people. And they ended up at a joystick manufacturer called Konix, who made the, I think I've taken it back downstairs now, but the really handsome little handheld joystick I had for the Commodore 64s. They were like one of the biggest joystick manufacturers certainly in Europe. I don't know about the rest of the world. But so they had oodles of money, and they took this into them. And it became very briefly a console called the Konix Multi-System, which was like this thing that had a steering wheel that you could click steering wheel and down and make it into like handlebars. you could attach it to a hydraulic chair and it would throw you around and all that sort of thing. A whole bunch of games briefly existed for it. I don't think it ever shipped as a finished article, but it shipped enough to be shown at trade fairs and that kind of thing. There's a famous photograph of Jeff Minter sitting on one of the hydraulic chairs playing the game. But anyway, it got stuck in development hell for ages, and Konix were just piling money into it. They were on a sunk cost deal with the machine, and they were just sinking all of their joystick money into it. And eventually, it bankrupted them. It bankrupted one of the biggest. That sounds weird, being a huge joystick manufacturer. Like, that's the thing you could possibly exist now. Back in the day, it was. And so yeah, when the multi-system died, Atari phoned Flare up and went, "Would you like to work on a games console for us?" And they're like, "Well, funny you mention that. We actually have one knocking around." And they're like, "Fine, box it up and bring it in. We'll have a play with it." And they brought in two designs. They brought a Panther and a Jaguar. And the Panther was closer to what the multi-system would have been. But Atari, in their height of their powers, just went, "Tell you what, here's masses of money. Make both, and we'll decide which one's better." And so they did, because Atari tell you to do something, you do it. And it rapidly seemed that the Jaguar was coming forward a lot quicker, and was more impressive when it was going to come out. So Atari just cancelled the Panther and ended up with the Jaguar. There are a couple of Panther prototypes, a couple of Panther dev kits that occasionally show up on eBay. And you can pretty much write your own check if you have one. But anyway, the Jaguar is partly famous for being quite a failure, it's got to be said. But it's also infamous for this thing. This is the Jaguar's controller. I'm going to leave it on screen for a little bit just for the design to fully sink in. 3 buttons, D-pad. D-pad is fine. It's alright, it's not amazing. But then there's this thing at the bottom. Look. Star, pound sign, numbers. Little clips in here, because some of the games, if you wrote a game that utilised this, you could have Atari print a little piece of cardboard that went in here and told you what key did what, like raise shields, go to warp, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. But yeah, a lot of people ragged on this controller being like the worst controller ever made, but I actually find it really comfortable. Let me undo the cable so I can show you that thing. There's a very gentle curve to the back of it, like that, look. There's a very gentle sort of like recess, of course, massive Atari logo, very gentle curve to it. And I think it actually fits in your hand. Your fingers go in that gap, like where a set of shoulder buttons would be normally. It's okay. It's a bit hollow feeling maybe, but buttons feel fine to me. I've certainly used worse controllers. Let's plug it in. Of course, wireless controllers hadn't been invented yet. Massive Atari logo. And in order to make sure that we can boot games on this, we've got a can of, we'll put it on this camera so we don't get into chroma key problems. We've got a can of contact cleaner, we've got a big tub of cotton buds, and we've got some IPA. Because one of the design flaws of the Atari Jaguar is that the cartridge port is open to the air. There isn't the vast majority of games consoles, like you're talking your SNESes, your Mega Drives, your Genesis, that kind of thing, have dust covers over their cartridge ports. So no crap falls in your cartridge port and blocks it. We've also got a little air duster to give it a little, because you will probably see what they call the red screen of death. I expect that to happen. So we're prepared. We're prepared for all of this. We've got to say we're giving us a quick scoosh of this. Incidentally, isn't a paid advertisement, but WD Contact Cleaner is the absolute business. It's super heady if you spray it in a small room, but it is really good contact lens. Anyway, let's bung in Cybermorph. And we can go to the video in, press the power button and hope for the best. Okay. Here we go, gang. The interesting thing about these games, and indeed the Jaguar in general, I'm just going to put my earphones in, just so I can hear the game audio. It's occurred to me that I've come online without doing this. One of the things about the Atari Jaguar is, and yes, I've played this before, as you can see. I've desperately tried to work this game out before. Is that it's... They say it's 64-bit, but it isn't. What it actually is a 32-bit processor and a 16-bit processor on a 32-bit bus added together to make 64. A lot of people suggested that Atari were absolutely full of shit when it comes to their bit rating for these things. And you know what? They're right. I'd be inclined to say that they are absolutely spot on with their saying that, you know, Atari are full of shit for this. But let me just plug in. I've screwed up and not come online with earphones in. So bear with me just 1 second while I snake the cable. I'm going to get away with that. I don't know how. No. I'll just play the game audio. It doesn't matter. So you end up with these two CPUs. You end up with a CPU that can't write to system RAM because of a bug in the UART. You end up with another GPU. You end up with another CPU acting as the GPU, which is hampered by being on a bus that's half the size. You end up hampered with game cartridges that only can store 6 meg, if I remember rightly. Your entire game has to fit in a 6 meg cartridge. Typical Atari, they screwed up left and right and shipped it, no matter what. So anyway, this is Cybermorph. It's a vaguely impenetrable exploration shooty thing. Yeah, exploration shooty thing. You end up warping down onto these planets and mining them and exploring them to get. You have to pick up orbs of energy. It isn't very good. This is one of the problems when you have the game that your console come with be a bit crap. It doesn't really do you a whole bunch of favours. So let's try and play Cybermorph. Okay, here we go. There will be a short long pause while I try to remember how to play it. Autobahn. Do you see what they've done there? Do you see what they've done? It's good, isn't it? Right, okay. I have to remember, I think that's the first planet. Okay, find the pods, grab them, and get out quick. Yes. Here we go.
Good luck. Where do you learn to fly?
Okay. There's speech too. Wikipedia confirms 6 meg on the cartridges. Yikes. I mean, imagine that. Thanks for that. But yeah, 6 meg. Your entire game has to fit in 6 meg. Okay, well the good news is I found the thruster button. See where the frame rate suddenly plummets as you on screen. The frame rate plummets the moment there's any enemies or anything. Because obviously.
Where did you learn to fly?
I could do without the wisecracking. Right, okay. You can sort of see what they're going for with this. I'm getting shot at. Am I getting shot at? I am getting shot at.
Where did you learn to fly? Where did you learn to fly?
You're not helping, madam.
Where did you learn to fly?
Okay, that's the hillside, so that's fine. That was good. And how much popping as well. I think that is a. I think that is a. Oh, there's another orb, excitement.
Good work.
So yeah, on top of these two custom chips that are both hobbled in their own little way, Atari made a thing of saying it's also got a 68,000. Yeah, there is a slight echo on it, unfortunately. Atari made a big thing of the fact that it's got a 68,000, but all it does is read the joystick ports. And a whole bunch of game developers just basically went, oh, we're just going to write 68,000 code for it. All we're going to do is write 68,000 code. And if you don't like it, tough shit. So a whole bunch of these games have this, what was for the day reasonably throbby CPU and GPU combinations, but they're all running on the same CPU as an ST and an Amiga. I've died. Dip down and get that. I mean, as you can see, the excitement is throbbing, isn't it? I mean, it's really... And I mean, a typical Atari, this came out like a year before the Saturn and the PlayStation. And if it had come out when they originally designed it and accepted the specs and stuff, it would have actually been reasonably powerful. Like it is very good at, I know there's no soundtrack at all. It's strange, isn't it? It's actually quite good at sprite-based video games, but there are so few of them available for this that, you know, it makes you wonder what they were going for. It's like there's wafts of the Saturn as well, because we all know our video game lore that when the Saturn was released, it was designed to be like a 2D powerhouse. And then the PlayStation came along and was doing loads of 3D stuff, so Sega like panicked and lamped in a whole bunch of extra hardware. The same sort of thing happened to Atari.
Well done.
Has the echo stopped? Because I've muted the sound. I've muted my local sound. So pods remaining 0. Yeah, it's got wafts of Star Fox about it, hasn't it? Is that the warp gate? Please let it be the warp gate. Not more than anything else for that to be the warp gate. It is. And that was a planet inside the. Yeah, that's my local setup. Unfortunately, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, you repeat that another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, getting increasingly difficult. But that's the game. The game doesn't have anything else. You get like different different things on the ground to shoot at and that kind of thing. But that's Cybermorph. That's the game that if you bought a Jaguar for Christmas, that's the game you'd be playing on Christmas Day. Autobahn is pretty terrible, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think any of the other ones are particularly. Capital's not great. Grace Mountain. Yeah, so it's Autobahn is the worst one. Is the most unforgivable one. Yeah, I mean everything about this is pretty unforgivable. But I'm just trying to retrieve my headphone cable. Completely slipped my mind to put headphones in before I came online. I was too busy getting this like dorky little camera setup thing I've got going. Okay, got my earpiece in now so I can hear the game. Let's play something good. For every bad game we play, we're gonna try to play at least one respectable game. I think that's fair, isn't it? I think that's reasonable to like play something absolutely shit, but then play something that's, you know, passable. And for this passable one, we've got Wolfenstein 3D, the game that started the whole 3D thing. Bonk. And this is actually quite a respectable version of Wolfenstein. It's, you know, this actually does better. This one shows off the sprite scaling hardware that the Jag has quite nicely. That's tut though. That's very crap. Okay. Fire open strafe. Yep. Also, you get a bit of background, which I never remember the PC version of Wolfenstein having. Okay. Yeah. There's strafing. Just get used to the strafing bit. Yeah. There's no circle strafing though. Oop, no. Okay, so you've got on the joypad you've got normal left and right rotate, but if you hold down C whilst doing left and right, you can strafe. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not the easiest, but there's not a lot of pixelation going on in the Germans and stuff. Yeah, I still want to get. Is that a bit loud? It's saying it feels loud to me, but might just be it's really loud in my earpiece. But I still want to get hold of a 3DO. I still want to get my hands on a 3DO. Despite the fact I know I'm going to pay top dollar for it, I want to get a 3DO. But yeah, hey, this isn't a bad version of Wolfenstein, you know? This is... Oh, the dogs. I hate the dogs. I hate shooting with dogs. I know they're not real, but I hate it. There's a bit of lag. There's a bit of... Is it lag? Is lag the right word? I don't know. But, there's no secret room in it. I'm trying to remember the secret room in it is. There's a run command as well. There is, yeah, there's a run. You can hold down. There's a tiny bit of input delay, but it's less terrible if I look at it on my lag-free screen. I've got a TV over here that shows me the output of the HDMI grabber rather than this, which is once it's gone through OBS, so there's less delay on it. So sometimes when I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking on a lag-free screen. Yeah, see, I don't remember at least one of the secrets. The pinging noise when you pick things up is a bit weird. I don't remember that on the PC version. But you know what? I would say this is probably the best home version of Wolfenstein, outside the PC, obviously. I would say this is the best console version of this. It's comfy for me because the soundtrack feels really ad-lib sound cardy. So that feels comfortable for me. I think ad-lib sound is very comfy for gamers of a certain age. But there's nice anti-aliasing on everything. Like it doesn't, the blokes don't turn into a huge blocky mess when they get really close to you and that kind of thing. Yeah. You what, mate? Oh, no way, really? Yeah, but you know what? Respectable version of Wolfenstein. I mean, you'd be... I don't know how you'd feel after paying like 35, maybe 40 quid for this game on a cartridge. But as a home version of this, if you didn't have a PC, that is fine. That is absolutely fine. So, good game. Good game. Let's play some crap. What do we think? Alright. Oh boy. Oh wow, yeah. Next we're going to play Flip Out. And Flip Out wants to... I am gutted about this tiny little scratch. I don't know when it happened. Happened years ago. When I got my Jaguar out of storage, it had this little scratch on it, and I'm really frustrated. I'm frustrated enough. I'm going to have to buy a broken Jaguar and flip this case for one that doesn't have this huge scratch on it. Flip Out wants to be like a halfway house between Bejeweled and Dr. Mario or something like that, and it is baffling and shit. There we are. Jaguar Red Screen of Death. Much less broken. That's basically the equivalent of doing the SNES harmonica thing. Another great game brought to you by... Brought to me by... Suspense is killing me. Am I supposed to press something? No. I mean, Guerrilla Systems. I've never heard of Guerrilla Systems. before or since. Okay, the problem with Flip Out is that they've tried to go for the same sort of graphics you get on that sort of thing with like Donkey Kong on the SNES and that kind of thing. But they failed and it just looks terrible. I guess there's a waft of Clax in this as well, which is also an Atari title. Okay. Let's play some. I'll say let's play some. Yeah, absolutely. In like the early to mid 90s, everything was just hyper colourful and really like, oh, why are you doing this? You know. Incidentally, the thing down the far side of the screen, the far left of the screen, is visible to me on mine as well. I think it's some sort of like overscan thing. Again, rigorous quality control here. So put the green tile in the center space. Tiles flash when they are in the correct space. I mean, even the font is terrible, isn't it? I mean, just... Okay. What? Am I supposed to be doing it while they're in the air? I see. Okay, I see. I think I see what's happening. You have to keep at least 2 tiles in the air all the time. And those 2 tiles rotate. They flip their positions. At least I think that's what's happening. Put the tiles in the pattern shown below. Okay. Right, yeah. Everything about this is terrible, isn't it? Just... Okay, twerps. It's annoying though, isn't it? Frustrating mess. But look at all the jaggies around the characters and everything. How absolutely shit it looks. Right, okay. Yeah. Hate less, yeah. Yeah. My hatred doesn't glow quite as brightly for the Palpatine guy, yeah. That's the same level as... Okay, no, that's fine. That isn't a frustrating mess or anything, you know, let's just do this thing. No. The big question is, how am I being entertained by this? You know? In what way is this entertainment? Yeah. Yeah, it's a puzzle game. I mean, all the parts of a puzzle game are here, but everything's so unpleasant to the eye. Oh god, now there's 3 colours. Do you see what I mean though? This is all sprite based. And this could easily be an Amiga game. This could be an Amiga shareware game without any real difficulty. Okay, it's done giving me any explanations now, isn't it? No. Jaguar! So are we frustrated and bored with Flip Out yet? Yeah, just licensed Tetris. I mean, Tetris existed for every... I mean, what got me is they could have ported Klax to this. They own Klax. You know, Klax is an Atari game. Just port Klax to it. Klax is great. It's the 90s, it's time for Klax. I've just squashed somebody. They deserve it, yeah. They knew what they were getting into the moment they walked into it. The crazy thing is, yeah, no, I'm not playing any more Flip Out. The crazy thing is, there is a not terrible game in there somewhere, but the graphic design is so eye-searingly unpleasant that you just like, no, I don't want to play this. It's like playing a video game inside a migraine, and I get enough of those. So that was a crap game. Let's play a good game. And for this one, we've actually got a boxed game. A little while ago, I was in town and I stumbled across a boxed Jaguar game. If you went into town and spent money on your 64-bit games console, this is what the games look like. It's cardboard and a bit cheap, but this is the thing, you see. I always like to have at least one boxed game for all of my machines. Little box and dogs. The crazy thing about the Jaguar as well, because people want to die. I know it's awful, isn't it? It's like the first time you see like an EGA video game or something in an emulator. You're like, what is that? The interesting thing about the Jaguar hardware as well is it's not region locked. It's not even TV system output locked. The TV system it outputs to is just a function of whatever modulator they fit to the back of it. There's jumpers on the motherboard that control whether it's 60 Hz or 50 Hz, but that's it. So they didn't have to region lock their games. I think there's only maybe like 1 or 2 games that won't work on a 50 Hz PAL console, because it meant they only had to make one box. You'll notice that the box has English, German and French descriptions on it, and the manuals are in, he says holding it upside down, the manuals are in German, French and English. So yeah, they only had to make one set of everything. So yeah, you end up with like this is the experience of buying a new Jaguar game. Obviously it's not new, but yeah. So yeah, this is Iron Soldier, which is sort of mech warrior-y kind of thing. Sort of like a halfway house between a mech warrior game and Blast Core on the Blast Core. What was Blast Core called elsewhere? Oh, I forget now. But the N64 game where you had to sort of like destroy buildings so a nuclear missile could get to a location. When I bought this and the first time I played it, I was expecting it to be fully crap, and it actually isn't. It's surprisingly alright. Again, huge wafts of early 90s VR games in this too. Like massive wafts of you know, those sort of like those VR consoles, VR machines you would get in amusement arcades, and you'd pay like £1 and get 3 minutes in virtual reality, and it was like 8 frames a second, obviously coming off some like ancient creaking Silicon Graphics thing or something. Wastelands. And covered by factories and wastelands. So what? Swindon then. Sorry. But yeah, how Amiga-y does that look? I mean, how much like a 16-bit game does that look? There will now be a short pause while I desperately remember how to play Iron Soldier. Would you destroy a local Iron Fist warehouse complex? Follow the road out of town to get there. Grab any supplies you find. Okie dokie. Right, no music again. Just... Okay. So we're looking around. We're firing at enemy tanks. And they are exploding. And then, right, okay, I remember now. So you hold down A, and then the up and down keys become the speed that you walk at. And you'll always carry on walking at that speed. In the direction that you point yourself in. The gun sound effect's a bit much though, isn't it? But hey, this actually isn't bad. There is not a bad... There is... The mechanics are a little bit wonky, but with a couple more buttons on the joypad, or like a mouse and a keyboard, this would be alright. You know, this would be... I've crashed into a building. This wouldn't be bad. I would, you know... I would play a modern day version of this. Let's get out of it, because stuff is shooting me really bad. Yeah, it does. Well, it has customization in that you get better guns and you get like more efficient weapons and that kind of thing. But that's about it. Okay, don't shoot oil refineries, Andrew. Immediately begin shooting oil refiners. I'm going to walk around the other side of town because I think that's where I should be. Oh, I got stuck on the road. You see what I mean about the like 1990s VR things though? Is that the thing I need to be destroying? It won't take me any time at all to blow up a building with a handgun. I don't think so, no. Certainly not in the few levels of this that I played. But like, this is reasonably this is like a first-gen game for the Jaguar. Why didn't they pack this in instead of that shitey Cybermorph thing? You know, at least there's a game here. I mean, by today's standards, there isn't a game here, but I just realised that the screen on the helicopters is the same colour as the sky. Because there must only be like a limited number of colours on screen at once. Pew! Pew! Guns don't make that noise. Pew pew! I'm just going to blow up houses now for one or two? One or two what? Ah! Finite amount of ammo in the gun. I now know. So I've screwed it. Oh, there were 2 sequels. No way, really? Cool. I did not know that. I don't remember. 2001 PlayStation. Oh, damn. Oh, okay. Well, hey, look, Iron Soldier, not a bad game. I suck at it, but then I suck at the vast majority of games I play. Ricky Diving Ace. Hey. Co-pilot. Cool. Iron Soldier. A very bearable Jaguar game. Shall we put there because it needs to go back in its box in a minute. Okay, we've got 2 crap games remaining and 1 good game. And we all know what the good game is, right? I mean, we all know the game we're going to end up playing. But we've got 2 games left. We've got Brutal Sports Football. Let me change the camera again. We've got Brutal Sports Football and Hover Strike. We'll very quickly look at Brutal Sports Football because it is very crap. Cybermorph's co-producer helped come up with it. No way, cool. Hey, that's really good. I can, yeah, now you say it, I can sort of feel that. Settle down, Telly Games. Settle down. That is the hardest of hard settle downs there. Oh, okay. Fair dues then. Did I just see this was set in 2019? Was 2019 written on that building? Yeah, 2019. So Brutal Sports Football. It happened last year. Unfriendly. Do you see what they did there? No, this is my Jaguar. That other than the devastating scratch that has ended up on it here, is in really good condition. This is my Jaguar, and yeah, it's just I didn't keep the box or anything because 1994 Baudi didn't keep boxes for things because he's an idiot. But yeah, it's lived its lived its life in one of those plastic crates that I showed you before, and yeah, doing alright. Has the only thing I've done to it is just got it out, span it up on a variable power supply, and clean the contacts. That's all. I haven't even needed to be inside this, so it's very satisfied. So yeah, this wants to be speedball, but it's not. Okay, I think we can safely say we're novices. Single match, that's all we need. I always say it's a decider. If it's one game out of one, it's a decider. Okay, which one am I? What? What? So hang on, this is... This is rubbish. Aye, but it's crap though, isn't it? Ooh, ooh, ooh. That is obnoxiously shit. That is, I think that's the worst game I own. That is obnoxiously shit. And I will not stand for it. Okay. Hover strike then. Hey, I'm speaking too soon, I think, but we've only had one red screen of death so far. We're doing really well. I'm super pleased with that. Well fought. Do not do that. See, half the time with these, I just want to. Yeah, the days when you got like loads of exposition in a track loop as well. like this. You've got like a Star Wars level of exposition. Okay. And we're obviously going to put it on easy. Right, select left and right, easy launch. Locate to destroy two radar dishes which are located on two small islands. We'll be capturing rough seas near these islands, so navigation and targeting will be different. Brilliant. Okay, what do they look like? Any key to launch? It just occurred to me, any key. I pressed 7.
Prepare to launch.
Ooh. Okay. It's exactly the same speed up and slow down controls as Cybermorph. Is that one of them? No, that's just a gun emplacement. This. Is that really loud? It's obnoxiously loud in my ear. Cool. Cut. It's just, maybe it's just obviously in my earpiece. It's just really earpiece. I turned into my dad then for a second. Who calls them earpieces? Oh, landfall. What? What's shooting at me? Is that us, one of the radar stations? Why am I going sideways? How do I stop myself going sideways? See, I mean, this isn't going to set the world alight graphically, but at least the frame rate's okay. You know, if nothing else, the frame rate is reasonably respectable. Should I be moving to that island? Is that an island? Oh, there's motion on the sea and everything. Fair dues. Shot at. There's the radar station there. Yes, mate. No, no. So have I just destroyed the 2 radar stations I was supposed to? Ah.
Shields.
I mean, that's not terrible. I'm not sure how long I'd want to play it for. I tell you, it reminds me of a game called Blam Machine Head on the Saturn and PlayStation. Reminds me a bit of that. It's fine, but you're just moving around amongst stuff without any real understanding of what's going on. So anyway, as for the final game, we all know the final game. We all know the non-crap game we're going to be playing now. Because this is the real reason why you bought a Jaguar. This may be still the real reason why you buy a Jaguar. Interesting thing about the Jaguar is that Hasbro, the people who own the Atari name, open sourced the console. You can download a full SDK, full development kit for Jaguars and write your own Jaguar games. There are still loads of new games coming out for the Atari Jaguar. Jeff Minter's Tempest 2000 on the console it started off on. You were saying about the Jaguar. I knew I shouldn't have commented on it. I knew the moment I said, "Oh, you've done really well. I haven't had any red screens tonight." Better, much better. Okay. Llamasoft. If you're not down with Llamasoft and Jeff Minter, he writes trippy games. This is like one of the first games he wrote where nobody told him to tone it down. Nobody told him to chill it out. Nobody said, "Look, Jeff, maybe notch it back a bit on the polygon reverb, maybe notch it back a bit on the, that kind of thing." And since then, God bless him, he's continued to make trippy games. He made a game for the Xbox called Space Giraffe, which is this game taken to its logical conclusion. And they described it as a Marmite video game here in the UK, in that you either love it or you can't stand it. And I love it, but I can see how it absolutely infuriates people, because sometimes on Space Giraffe there's so much going on the screen. You are navigating the level purely by the sound your bullets make as they ricochet off things. And yeah, so anyway, this is, if you've ever played Tempest in the arcade, you are on the top of a tube and things will come up the tube toward you, and you have to shoot them and clear your way through the tube. Here we go, chums. Now I need to look at this on the non-lag screen, because can't have any lag on this. Oh, I suck. He's dying. So Jeff would go on to write Tempest games for any console, any hardware that would pay him to, because he's a big fan. Very correctly, he's a big fan of Tempest. So as you can see, what you need to not do is let any of the aliens get close to you or shoot you. But this sort of game just plays perfectly into the Jaguar's power, in that it's perfectly capable of doing 3D, but also very capable of doing loads of sprite effects. So, of course, Jeff made 3D effects and then absolutely slathered on insane amount of sprite effects on it. Tempest 2000 got ported to everything, pretty much. A version for Saturn and PlayStation came out. It was ported to the PC. It ended up built in, a version of this ended up built into some DVD players firmware. And I can completely understand how how Tempest isn't a game for everybody, because it's not a game for everybody. It's one of those games that you either like or you don't like. But if you imagine this in high def at 60 frames a second with absolutely tons of shit on screen at once, you've got Space Giraffe. Got enemies like this thing here that split into generate 2 enemies when you shoot them and that kind of thing. So you end up having to do like a little shimmy when you shoot it. You shoot it, wait for it to explode into the 2 enemies, and then do like a little side to side shimmy. But the thing with a lot of Jeff Minter's games is that they are extensively fine-tuned. You know, they are fine-tuned to the point of obsessive behaviour. Damn, wasn't looking. He also did a game for PS4, both normal and VR, called Polybius, which is very great. I don't have the VR version of it because I don't think I could really do VR. I've screwed up there, but yeah, Polybius is it's like a tube racing game, but it has the same sort of like, if you get into its vibe, if you get into the groove that it's giving you, then you are going to have a fantastic time. But if you can't get into that groove, then you are going to experience an absolute nightmare. Oh, I suck. No, I'm rubbish. Can't do it. Can't do it tonight. I've missed 2 power-ups already. No. Nah. It's not on me tonight. But yeah, that is Tempest 2000. There is the original version of Tempest as well on this cartridge that doesn't have all of the insane Jeff Minterisms built into it. I don't know how much. I don't know how many times you've all been to amusement arcades and that kind of thing, but yeah, see, now that's his version of the original. Without all the crazy power-ups and AI droids and all of that kind of thing. In the arcade, this is normally played with a spinner, with a like a jog shuttle wheel. And Atari eventually brought out an add-on. They brought out a controller with a spinner specifically for this game. It's like pretty much everyone who bought a Jaguar brought a copy of Tempest 2000, so they figured, let's just make a joystick specifically for it. I love the Starfield effects, they're so great. Also, sampled sound from The Television is the Retina of the Mind's Eye is a quote from Videodrome, if I remember rightly. It's Brian Oblivion from Videodrome. Also, Jeff Minter is a famous. He's really big on sheep and yaks and beasties like that. Part of the reason that's why he writes yak on high score tables and that kind of thing. When he wrote this, he was famous for owning a sheep called Flossie. Flossie, the prettiest sheep in the world. And if you pause the game and wait 20 minutes, I think it is, the soundtrack contains like a recording of Flossie bleating. But you have to sort of pause the game, go away, make a cup of tea, come back to hear Flossie singing at you. Jeff Minter's still around and still really crazy, and he's good value on Twitter. He has a small farm that he runs with all of his rescue llamas and yaks and sheep and that kind of thing, and regularly does live streams of him going out into the fields and just like with a packet of digestive biscuits in his pocket and just feeding all of his beastie friends. And yeah, he's a really chill guy. He's a hoary, hairy old guy now, but he's still writing games, bless him. He's still in the business. He started off, his first game came out on the VIC-20, and the guy is still in business writing video games. So, I mean, who are we to argue with that? Who are we to argue with that sort of staying power? The weird thing with this as well is, like, even though it looks quite basic, even like the jazzed up, like Jeff Minter version looks, by today's standards, quite basic. It's my old thing, like I was saying about those Commodore 64 games. You never really feel cheated. You like, yeah, it will. If you get stuff wrong, you'll die, but the game will show you where you went wrong. The game will explain to you what happened and how you screwed up, and it's incumbent on you to not screw up again. as you can see, I love the arse out of this video game. I think it's really great. I have it for every I have it for every single piece of hardware I own that it exists for. I have a copy of it for. It's just one of those games that if you're in the mood for it, if you're in the zone for a bit of Tempest, you can play it all evening quite easily. I find like this and Puzzle Bobble, and to a lesser extent Bejeweled, if I'm in the right mood for it, I can just play it all evening. I can just spend like 4 hours playing a single video game, which is something that I don't really do anymore. The last video game I spent any time like playing that on is probably like Fallout 3 or something like that. I think is the last game I could consistently say, oh, I spent all evening playing that. I put Iron Soldier back in its case carefully. You've got to maintain the paginess. So yeah, that is my Atari Jaguar collection. That is my collection of Atari Jaguar games. I have another controller in storage in the boxes because I was visiting a town, and whenever I go to a town here in the UK, I go to see if there's a CEX, like a computer exchange, like gaming collector place. And there was CX there, and yeah, I had there was an Atari Jaguar controller sitting unloved on a shelf for like, I think it was like 15 quid, so like $20. And brought it home, cleaned it up. I could easily put it on eBay for 50 quid if I wanted to, but I don't. I like having two controllers. But yeah, what a controller though. So many people rag on this as a controller. But the weird thing about the Jaguar is this is the console that killed Atari. This is the console. This is the product that all those multiplayer games. Well, you say that about multiplayer games. The Kojak port at the back does actually let you have, I think it's up to like 16 players on games that support it. You can have up to 16 players on like a local network thing. It's a bit like the old Game Boy link cable, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is the machine that pretty much killed Atari. This is the last piece of hardware I think Atari made. And interestingly enough, 3 or 4 years after this machine disappeared and Atari stopped being a thing, they sold the molds for this case to a medical research company, and it ended up being the case for a piece of dental hardware. The weird thing, I remember like scrolling through pictures and going, that's a Jaguar. What? You know, made out of white plastic. This was used as the molding for like a piece of dentistry. The molds for this now are owned by the guy who owns Atari Age, the Atari collector website. But yeah, they made loads of these. Atari made way too many. They overestimated massively how many of these would sell. Even cheaply, they overestimated how many of these would sell. And the Saturn came out, killed it. The PlayStation came out, killed this and the Saturn. I mean, I'm a big Sega guy. I bought Saturn, but the PlayStation killed it. And the idea of making a mostly sprite-based piece of hardware in what, 96 seems quaint and wrong now, because it was wrong. The future is 3D, and as we saw from Iron Soldier, if you can't lob polygons around at a decent speed, you're not going to be able to do it. The weird thing is, if they'd have fixed the bugs that this machine has, it would have stood more of a chance. If they hadn't have made it so terribly hard to code games for, the Jaguar might have been less of a huge failure, if that makes any sense. So many people, like I suspect the people at like Brutal Sports Football, at Telegames, and the people at Flip Out, Guerrilla Systems, yeah, of course, them. I bet you that these are running on the 68000 that should be doing just the joystick reading, and not running on the game's custom hardware. it's a terrible shame, but classic Atari, they huge amounts of hubris, overthinking and overestimating how many they would sell, killed them. This machine is why Atari don't exist anymore. Atari used to be owned by Infogrames, the software house, and then it was, well, briefly, it was owned by a hard disk company, JIT Hard Drives. Reverse took over Atari for the name. As I say, Hasbro own the Atari name now. That the toy company own it, and they're slapping the Atari logo on anything they want to look vaguely retro-y and, you know, appeal to jaded 40-somethings. You know. But yeah, the Atari Jaguar. What a weird thing. I would like a Jag CD add-on for mine, but they're so expensive. Even a broken Atari Jaguar on eBay is like £100. They have a really weird thing. The power supply is like a bog standard 12-volt power supply, but if you don't have an Atari one and you use just one you have kicking around, the polarity on this one is different. This is center negative, and most things are center positive. If you do that, it destroys 2 chips on the motherboard, which can be easily replaced. But there are loads of Jaguars on eBay. Well, loads of Jaguars. There are quite a few Jaguars on eBay that say things like, no power supply is dead. Because they've plugged it in with like a bench power supply or something that just does 12 volts and blown the tits off the console. Like I say, the kit to replace it is easy. You just have to replace 2 chips on the motherboard. But yeah, it's quite a few dead Jags floating around. So hey, that is all of the Jaguar games I have, which is fine because that fits in, you know, an hour and a bit, doesn't it? Cheers for coming, gang. I really appreciate you sticking around and listening to my meaningless wibble while I play video games badly. And what we'll do is we'll have a look around and we'll see what machine we can play next. So thanks for coming all. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.